listening to Polished Woman, only on LA Talk Radio.
Yes, Polished Women, we are here once again with my daughter Breanna for our episode for teenagers. For the whole month, it's all about teenagers, and we have a very, very special guest today, and we're excited. Breanna's excited because she'll ask a lot of things about peer. Okay, our topic for today is peer pressure and anxiety. Teenagers today are faced with things that I would have never imagined having to deal with when I was in my teens. It's so different. And while there's always been things like peer pressure and anxiety, I think that they may be very difficult to deal with nowadays, this whole generation. And so my guest for today, thank you so much for coming, and we're gonna have a lot of questions for you, and I hope you'll give us a lot of informations. And for all the moms out there, she's Dr. Ginger Lavender.
Yes.
Hi,
Lavender.
welcome. I love her name, Ginger Lavender.
Thank
It's
you.
so nice. It's so sexy.
Thank you.
All right. So first, Ginger, I want to know, for both adults and teenager clients, do you think that it's more difficult for teenagers to open up?
I would have to say yes. There's this dynamic shift from an adult to a child. And so most teens will look at adults as kind of like authority figures. So they're not necessarily wanting to open up. So I think that if they have someone who they can relate with, who kind of speaks the same language as them, then they're more open, so they know what kind of music they're listening to, what's the latest trends, right, Breanna?
Yeah, you're so right.
So it's that if they can understand that, then maybe they're as open. For adults, we kind of experience some of the same things, so it's a little easier to talk to someone that's an adult. But I think teens, if there's a special, like what I call like a teen whisperer.
What is that?
A teen whisperer. It's someone who really can connect on a teenage level, and it's a hard line to play because I'm a mom myself, and so I have to practice these things at home too. Yes.
They don't really listen to their own parents.
Just don't listen.
This is true. This is true. So I found that teens usually connect with someone that is not in their immediate kind of realm, because as a mom you get to play disciplinarian, right? You get to tell them what to do, when to do it, but then you're also listening. So it's hard for them to kind of juggle those two things. So if there's someone else who's like non-judgmental, they're not going to say, why did you do this? How come you did this? They're more open to kind of talking to you.
I noticed that because even some of my friends, they would be like, hey, can you talk to my daughter? Or can you talk to my son? I was like, okay, all right, but you're the parent. I don't know, because I know that she doesn't tell me everything, but somehow we have like a very open relationship, because I guess, I'm like I'm like a teenager as well.
Well, like for some teenagers, they just get scared, like opening up to their parents, you know?
I
They're
agree.
not that scared,
But you had like one incident, now that we're talking about peer pressure, you had, can you tell her about that and, tell the viewers?
I've been to some parties, and like, of course, there are alcohol and drugs there. And a couple of, they weren't my friends, but a couple people. So I was going to somewhere that I didn't really know I didn't know anyone there. So I went with two of my friends, and we were just like, oh, like, it'll be fun. And I was like, okay. And they were just not doing what I expected they were going to be doing. Because I didn't know them, and they had a lot of stuff that I wasn't comfortable with at that time, and they were like, here, like, do you want to try this? And I was just like, no, like, I don't know what it is, like, no. And so I called my mom.
I know, and
I was like, Mom, can you pick me up?
And I was in a dinner date with my husband. I'm like, why is she calling us? Like, and then she's like, she won't stop, like, pick me up now, pick me up now. And so when we got there, I was like, oh my gosh, it's like, it's an apartment place. I said, why did you even come here? So so she never, like, after that, she never went out with those people, right?
But that's good. I would imagine that you guys have had that relationship since she was younger. So this isn't new for her to kind of be able to call on you.
It's always been like that.
Right. So
is that what it is? Okay, listen to this. So you cannot start you can't start that whole relationship
over again.
You can't. It's not something. It's something you build upon, right?
Oh.
So most
That's
children, age 2 to 3, they start to develop trust with their parents. So
Yeah.
knowing that their parent will be there regardless if they mess up, if they spill a drink, of milk, they're gonna be there, right?
Yeah.
So it kind of builds upon itself. So when they become a teenager, they already have that built-in trust.
Okay.
So that no matter how bad they mess up, it's not going to change your love for them.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So for moms or parents or absent parents who now want to step up to the plate during their teenage years, it's very, very difficult to kind of establish that.
Oh, so you really have to start early. You can't just because you're now a teenager that, I'm trying to
Right.
be close to you right now because you're a
Yes.
teenager. You can't do that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's so
good
good.
stuff.
Oh my gosh. So where do you feel, what are the things that you're anxious, can you ask her?
Well,
Anxious about? What are the things that a teenager is usually, they get anxious about?
So from my perspective and what I've seen is there's a variety of levels. So this is extreme emotion that kind of comes over them. Intrusive thoughts. It could be like body physiological things, but it could be performance anxiety in school. It could be, parents' pressure on them to perform in a sport. They get anxiety when it comes to being with other kids their same age and not feeling adequate enough. So there's a variety of things that could come into place for anxiety.
Okay.
So I'm curious to know, are there things that you've heard yourself in terms of what teens are anxious about?
Definitely in school we get a lot of pressure from trying to do well and getting stuff done in time, and from my friends they get really stressed out and their parents are putting more pressure on them from like sports or something else, and then they're just like, I don't want to do this anymore, and then they start getting to something else, and then depression and then anxiety and all that stuff. There, like you said, there's a variety of how many of that can happen, but there's just so much in high school, like as teenagers go through, like relationships, breakups, like those relationships.
It's the central focus of being a teen is how we're relating on a romantic level, on a peer level. Friends mean a lot. Relationships mean a lot.
Means a lot. Why are teenagers so, this is what I notice with everyone, as soon as they reach the age of 15 or 14, they want to be in a relationship. They want to be, they want to be loved. They want to, they want someone to be there. Like, why is that? Is it because of they want to experience first kiss, first sex, or what is it?
From the outside looking in, you would think that that's kind of the outside, but I think the genuine kind of at the core of everyone, they want to feel loved. But I think during the teenage years, they're going through this search for identity. And what helps us to define who we are through our friends, through relationships, what we like, what we want, what we don't want. And they're just trying to figure things out because there are many adults, not adults quite yet, but they want to experience some of the things that adults do, which is primarily love, outside of that parent relationship.
Okay.
So, of course, parents give love, but they want that external feeling of love. So that's what I would think that kind of helps to contribute.
So it's normal for them to be trying to find boyfriend, and how do you talk to them and and saying, like, of course you can't control not having sex, but how do you tell them, like, I'm glad she's still, because I was like, how do you tell them that, hey, this is not the right time, maybe it's not the right time for you to have sex, or don't just give it. I had a recent talk with her recently and I told her, I said, when I had my first sex, it was beautiful. But nowadays they just have sex.
They just want to get it over with.
Right.
It's
Why
like,
interesting.
Yeah, they do. It's like you want to enjoy your first time, and like remember it, and like, you're gonna want to like tell your kids one day and be like, oh yeah, I had it in the back of his car. Like, I just had it like in the back of an alley.
Yeah, or just somewhere there in the carnival, or it's
in
like
the porta potty.
Yeah, or
At school, in the gym, under the bleachers.
I do think that it again would start with kind of how you've had those conversations growing up. And again, it's not a conversation you start when she's 14, right?
Yeah.
It's a
Well, no,
conversation
actually, no, earlier.
that you
Started
start
earlier.
definitely
Yeah.
defining sexuality for her and what that means and what it means to kind of develop as a young woman and your urges, to really explain what happens as women as we
Yeah.
go through puberty and not allowing other peers or boys tell them how to define themselves sexually. And I think
Yeah.
it's those messages that come. So no, as you can't necessarily tell a teen not to, but you can kind of instill in them certain beliefs, ways of thinking that carries with them, right?
Okay.
You might not think it seeks in right away,
Yeah.
but it comes to them when they're like, this doesn't feel right for me, I'm gonna leave, or this doesn't feel right for me, so I'm not gonna engage in this situation. So I think it just depends on like the messages that you continue to tell them as they grow older, not just at 15.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is Twitter question. How can a parent start being part of their teenager's life?
So connecting. What I call it a judgment-free zone. So
Judgment-free zone.
yes.
Okay.
I like
So
that.
Free zone.
That's good.
judgment-free zone. So one of the things that I tell parents to do in connecting is to have a judgment-free zone, meaning your teen can come and tell you anything. It doesn't mean it doesn't deserve consequences, but they have to know they're able to share something with you and not have an immediate response, either verbally, with your physical gestures. You know, your team can tell you something and you're like,
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah.
that also gives off the like, this is not okay.
Yeah.
So having a judgment free, like if I
alright.
tell you something, I'm gonna listen.
Okay.
And that creates that trust. It doesn't mean that a consequence may not come. So you have to have this conversation.
Okay.
It just is not going to come in that moment. So I think that's a way to connect and build trust that, okay, if I tell my mom something or I tell my dad something right now, they're just going to listen.
Mhm.
As opposed to having feedback, advice, et cetera, et cetera. And you can call it whatever you want.
That's so funny that you said that because I see a therapist as well, and I talk about her, I talk about my kids, and she told me that. She's like, just listen to them. And be able to like, okay, you don't have to say, oh, this happened to me, this happened to that.
Right.
And instead, give them validation and say, okay, that's a good one. That's a good that you did this.
Right.
That, like give them validation, but it's important
Yes.
that you listen to them.
Yeah.
That's very good. Oh my gosh. How about this is for you.
What?
The social media. Ask her.
Oh, social media is like crazy now.
yes,
And
it
a
is.
lot of teens are, like you probably know, like a lot of teens are affected by what everyone else is posting, how everyone's looking. Like if they're home alone and then all their friends are hanging out without them, and
Yes.
like some people are like, oh, like I want to look like this girl. Like why don't I look like this girl? And then they can just like,
Get filters
Yeah.
and make it
Yeah.
happen.
yeah.
What is your suggestion with that whole? But you can't take that away from
No.
them. It's like right in front of
It
them.
is. It's such a digital age right now,
Mhm.
in social media. What I say is that, again, what happens outside of social media, because there are going to be so many influences outside of that. For us, probably it's like magazines. When we used to see magazines, these beautiful women in magazines.
Yes.
You're like, I want to be like this person. But I think it's what kind of skills and things that you do outside, what you continue to tell your daughter, Breanna, you're lovely, this doesn't define you. So being able to say those things, because, and one of the things is I always say that the social media is like a highlight reel of people's
Yeah,
lives,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's not real.
It's not real.
It's not real. So,
So
it's
true.
a fake sense of reality, right?
Yeah.
It's not real. And so we're comparing ourselves against a standard that is not kind of set for us.
Yes.
So it's kind of being able to have those same talks. You talked about like, when your friends are like in a group chat or, they're doing something,
Yeah.
something, you see it and you're like,
You're
okay,
like,
I wasn't invited.
yeah.
What happens from that? And
Yeah.
then we don't pick up the phone anymore. Like everything is
No,
really.
they don't.
You know?
Everything is all text.
Yes.
And and just I don't know, FaceTiming. At least there's FaceTiming. they FaceTime,
That's good.
but they don't see their faces. Like
Right.
you're talking to someone, but it's
Right.
all dark.
Yeah.
Or you're talking to someone, but it's the wall. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, what is this? I actually I advised her. I said I know that a lot of teenagers, they don't take out their girlfriends. They're in a relationship, but they don't take them out. I said,
Yeah,
Breanna.
some guys are like forgetting how to be gentlemen.
This is true.
Yeah.
So
And
we need to talk to
I tell her,
those guys' moms.
yeah.
I know.
She was actually very blessed with the first boyfriend,
Uh-huh.
but but now it's like, okay, now it's hard, but coming from that boyfriend now expecting something that, okay, he's gonna be like that, but not everyone is like that.
Right.
But I still, I tell her, I said, hey, if there's a guy that likes you, let them come to the house or let them take you out to dinner. I only like one or two of those teenagers, right? And nothing else. Do you have any question for her that you wanna, ask?
How would you deal with a teenager that is so insecure? Because I know a lot of teenagers are insecure about like their body or just that, but like in high school, like how would you deal with someone who's insecure about who they're around and like what they look like and on social media and stuff?
Yeah, so body image, I would assume is really, really important in what we see via social media. And what I would share with them is that they should be connected with people, like-minded people. So people who are willing to uplift their spirits, who are willing to kind of pour into them with positive images. And that might be a teacher on campus, they may be a counselor on campus, because sometimes friends don't talk to each other about their insecurities sometimes. And they may appear, because now the new depression looks like is someone who has a smile and seems like they have it all together.
That is so true.
And that could be the very person who's really struggling with identity and body image, because we've learned to mask all of that. So I say even check in with friends who seem
like they're okay.
Like they're okay. And I think every child or teen should have at least one adult that they're connected to.
How do you know? I know. How do you know? Because I was supposed to invite you. Remember, Max? We were supposed to invite her for the teen suicidal, and one of my good friends just lost a son, and they did not have any idea that he was a happy kid, always smiling, very humble, down to earth. He prays. That all those things. How will you know? I mean, that. How would you know?
Some
Signs.
signs.
Yeah.
So, and again, because now it's this masking, I think of how we truly feel. I always say that the physical signs is, okay, are they engaging? Are they isolating, right? So are they by themselves more often? Are they disengaging from activities that they used to just enjoy? So if they played tennis or basketball, now they don't want to go. Or if they used to hang out with friends, now they're not. They're like secluding themselves. Are they starting to give away prized possessions? So things that they really had enjoyed, like maybe a medal that they won, and they're like, oh, you can have it. I really don't need this. So that is their way of kind of like silently giving away prized possessions that they may have had. And you're like, why would you give this away? This is something that really means something to you. And I know for parents and teens, this is a sore kind of subject of really being aware of what's happening in their room. And so I know for teens, they're like, no, don't come into, this is my private space. But I think as parents, we should know what's happening.
What's happening.
And it's not a privacy thing. I always say it's a protection thing.
I always go to her room. I don't want her locking her room. I get mad. But at night I said, okay, lock the room. But I want, but she's I'm very, very fortunate to have a good teenager.
That's
she's
great.
She's very open, and when she has some people, she leaves the door open. And one time she's used to having the door closed when she has friends, but now she's like, I think you should just leave it open. So just we know what's happening, and we can hear what they're doing and stuff. But wow, that's good to know, because that's my friend didn't know anything.
And I would say that in certain situations you just may not know. I mean, and
but the thing is, it's normal for teenagers to be isolating themselves, right?
It is.
Like, they actually don't really talk. They you ask them a question, they answer you with one word, and then they're always in the room, like,
So I have tech-free days, which forces communication. And I say social days,
Okay.
social family days, where
Okay.
that means no room. So it just really encourages kind of relationship with family, and it encourages them to step away from technology. And it means that the parent has to do the same thing.
Okay. Yeah. So the parent.
So parent has to be tech free as well, because I know that sometimes the parent may be.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
true. That's true. Oh my God. Breanna, have you found that? Wait, Ginger, have you found that there are times of the year where peer pressure seems to be more problematic, like at the beginning of the school year or during breaks? I want to know this because
Right.
the school
School is starting
yeah.
soon. I think the depending on the area you live, labels are really important, and even schools have kind of tried to go into the uniform sense because they want to balance out this social class that
Yes.
tends to happen and the bullying around that. But
That's really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would say school year, beginning the school year, there's this anxiety about what am I going to wear, how am I going to look, what image am I going to portray this school
Yeah,
year
that's
versus
so
last
cool.
school year. For seniors, it's also going into that year saying by the end of this year, I need to know what school I'm going to. And so that's that another pressure that kind of
Yeah.
comes onto them.
Oh wow, that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's really good to know.
good.
Yes.
What's your example, Breanna? That's yours, I think. An example of how parents have helped you handle your anxiety in your life recently.
Like from what I.
Yeah, from
Like from what you helped me with?
Yeah, like what do you think you should tell the parents?
I'm confused at what you're asking me.
Well, was there any recently that your parents have helped you with your anxiety and stuff, and
Oh.
so maybe you can
And I'm just
Okay.
thinking
Yeah.
if they're, because as a teen, the best advice that can be given to any adult is through your lens and through your voice.
Yes.
So what do you feel like parents can do?
because
to
she's
kinda-
also a parent. Yeah.
Just be really like honest with your kids, because if you're not honest with them, they're definitely not going to be honest with you. And just be, I feel like for when I meet my friends' parents and they're a little bit like, oh, like I get that kind of vibe, like that, oh, like I don't really want to say anything, like if you're
Right.
that type of parent that's just like comfortable, that you're comfortable with being open with, and that you just feel like you're safe with, kind of,
Right.
then you'll be like, okay, like I can just tell her anything, and like I know she's not gonna get mad, or like,
Sure.
yeah.
Is there such thing as being too open? Because I think I'm too open. I think I'm very open.
I think parents can define how they choose to relate. I think your openness it kind of exudes, and I see how connected you are.
Okay.
So, like Breanna said, she appreciated honesty. So that's what you give her. And so I think she can appreciate that. And I don't think there's a right way or wrong way to do it, but I think openness helps to create the same
All right.
two-way street.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Last question, Ginger.
Yes.
What advice do you have for parents who may be worried for their with their children with the peer pressure or anxiety? Just one quick advice. Yeah.
I would say for anxiety, each child's different. So I would base it on if their symptoms are severe enough to start impacting everyday life. So they're not wanting to go to school, they don't engage in the community, and at home they start to isolate or perseverate on different things. So those are sure signs that something is happening. And I always say either seek counsel with their, pastor or counseling, school counselor. Seek an external professional support.
I also believe, just for a quick advice, I also believe that you should teach them, whatever faith you have.
Yeah.
I think you should teach your kids. I read the Bible to her. I call all my kids and like, hey, read this. Look what happened. This is what God's talking to me.
Definitely. Yes.
And they're like, even if they say, oh my gosh, Mom, what are you talking about? What is this again? They always complain, but you know what? They will listen.
Yes.
They will listen. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
How can they contact you?
Yes, please contact me on Instagram at gingerlavenderlmft or on my website, gingerlavendertherapy.com.
Thank you so
Yes,
much for
thank
coming
you.
today. We've
Thank you
learned
so
so much. Give
Thank
love
you
to
so
the
much.
next person you'll see after watching the show. Thank you so much.
You're listening to Polished Woman, only on LA Talk Radio.